Chazal tell us, what is the mitzvah of Teshuva? The mitzvah of V'hizvadu, it's the mitzvah of Viduy, and it has three parts to it. Of course, there's azivas hachet, of not sinning. You can't do Teshuva if you're sinning, otherwise you're tovel b'sheretz b'yada. It's as if you're trying to purify yourself and you're holding the source of your impurity. It doesn't work. But what are the three elements? Viduy, which is a confession. Charata, an expression of your regret. And Kabbalah Al Ha'Asid, you accept upon yourself for the future that things are going to be different. A resolution. These are the three parts. It sounds very simple. It sounds maybe even a bit simplistic. Yeah, this is what I did. I'm sorry, won't do it again. That's what it sounds like. But as we study these things, we're going to find that they're highly profound and that this is what really affects the change within our neshamas. Let us begin with Viduy. Let us begin with Viduy. Viduy, I have to confess. Why do you have to confess what you did? In fact, there's a problem. Viduy is the easiest thing to do. All you got to do is say, I sinned. On Yom Kippur, we say Al Chait, we confess to so much. Things we did, things perhaps we didn't do, but we did in a previous Gilgul. What's real Viduy? What is real Viduy? What is real Viduy? So here we are again. We have to understand. Why do we do Averis? Why do we sin? Why do we do what's wrong? Why do we do what's wrong? Don't we want to do what's right? When we take a look at the Viduy, the essential Viduy, in Halacha, we find something very interesting. The Gemara tells us, Mi'ikar adin hamisvada einu tzorech sheyifrot es hachet. You do not have to be mefaret the chet. You do not have to actually say what you did. In fact, the Gemara says the Ikar Viduy is Aval anachnu v'avaseinu chatanu. We and our ancestors sinned. Number one, we're already putting our ancestors in there. We're trying to make ourselves feel a lot better about it. We're vindicating ourselves by saying, yeah, even our ancestors sinned. But not only that, the word chatanu, chet, we understand is the term that is used for the lowest level of responsibility. I made a mistake. Chet is a shogeg. I made a mistake. Now, someone intentionally murdered Chas v'Shalom. He's Yotze Viduy by saying, Aval hanachnu v'avaseinu chatanu. How does that work? How does that work? Furthermore, when we look at the Ikar Viduy in the Nusach HaViduy, it's Ashamnu, Bagadnu, there's very little detail there. That's the Ikar Viduy. In Ne'ilah, we don't even say all the Achets. Ne'ilah, which is the high point of Yom Kippur, we skip the Achets. All we say is Asham. Asham doesn't go into detail. It gives us concepts. It really gives us concepts. Rabbeinu Yonah tells us that Chet is Choli HaNefesh. It is disease of the Nefesh. What is Chet? How do we sin? It means that there's something wrong with the way we process reality. There's something wrong with the way we make decisions. There's something wrong with whether or not we choose to make decisions in the first place. It's disease. When the Navi says, Rafa'eni Hashem v'ei Rafei, he's asking for refuah from Chet. There's something wrong there. You know why we have no problem saying, I did this, I did that? Because we agree that we did technical sins. We have no problem saying that we sinned technically. I broke halacha. I did things that I shouldn't have done. But what do you really think of yourself? We're good people. We mean well. We have tough days. Come on, we're human. We have no problem saying I sinned because deep down, I'm not really saying anything so terrible about myself. All I'm saying is I'm human. And yeah, every human being has his personal collection of averos. But I'm human. We think of ourselves as good people, and we better think of ourselves as good people. You don't think of yourself as good people, we've got problems. I'll tell you, Rosh, if they ask me what Chazal say. If you think of yourself as an evil person, there's no hope. You've got to know that you're good. And yes, indeed, we want to do what's right. So why don't we? So you see, here's the chiddush. Chotonu means, and the word chet means lack. I'm missing something. There is something wrong with the way I am wired. There's something wrong with my attitudes. The Rambam, we know, refers to midos as deus, attitudes. For every chet, there is an underlying mistaken attitude. And we've got to find the root of our chatoim. It may very well be that there is one root to many different sins. It could be that there are different roots. All of these roots are a matter of our midos. Or as the Rambam would say, our deos, which really means our attitudes on life and attitudes on ourselves. And we really have to process them. The very first issue is chotanu, the realization it's not just that I sinned, that I committed technical averis, that I didn't fulfill every halacha in Shulchan Aruch. Chotanu, there's something wrong with me. You know something? Our ancestors too. Every human being is born that way. Hashem gives us this so we have something to work on in this world. But to recognize there's something wrong. There's something that has to change. Chatonu, Viduy, is coming to that conclusion. I have attitudes that must change in order for me to grow. Now, obviously, the next step is going to be to identify what are the things I keep doing wrong and what is the underlying attitude that causes me to do them. So Viduy, number one, is that realization, coming to the conclusion, I have attitudes that must change. There's reason why. I know Lashon Hara is asur, but sometimes I say it anyway. Well, you can't listen to it, but I do. We can't believe it. And this is true for everything. I want to be honest, but sometimes when I'm challenged and involves a lot of money, or it's going to be a big headache, or I don't want to really take responsibility, I'd rather just lie my way through it. And what's the underlying attitude? Where's that coming from? Where's that coming from? Yeah, I get impatient with people. Yeah, I could be insensitive to people. Where's that coming from? What makes me do these things? Why is it that I get angry? What is the underlying attitude that must change? Which of my deos are off? It's identifying. This is work. You may need help. You may have to work through it yourself or with someone you're close to. Sometimes even a professional. At least to get an understanding of yourself. This is all included in the Viduy process. Viduy is acknowledging, number one, there is something wrong with me. Number two, what makes this wrong is not just the action. There's an underlying attitude that gets me to do this, that, and the other. I have to identify those attitudes. Those are the things I'm going to have to change if I'm going to change to my behavior. People think, oh, it's all about self-control. See, self-control itself is something one has to develop, but that's not the whole answer. That's not the whole answer. How long can you go on controlling yourself so long as you're still driven by your instincts? What you have to do is change your underlying attitudes. Then you can really change yourself. So you really have to get to know where things are coming from. It's not easy. Of course, this includes a great deal of self-awareness. First, that you're honest about your behavior and what has to change. For people that are afraid they're not self-aware, you can approach somebody close to you. Tell him, I am opening myself to hearing criticism. I will not hate you for this. I will appreciate, but please tell me the truth. And the way to always go about it is tell me some nice things about myself so that it's in the right context, but also tell me what you think I have to change. Often we're totally unaware of our interaction or our problems and our interactions with others. And it's important to just check in with other human beings and make sure that your self-image is accurate. You do understand yourself. Because listen, the Torah is requiring it here. We can't do tshuva if we don't know what's wrong with us. So what really is being expressed here is that while some people love spending Yom Kippur saying Viduy, they go through all of the Al Ha'Asid, their misvada, all the avonas that they did or didn't do, and possibly go through other lists as well, and the Chidan, the Chayadam, and you're being misvada, everybody's averis. 1 second, that's not what it's about. To say I did something wrong without acknowledging that you've got an issue is a waste of time. That's not the mitzvah, and it will do nothing for you. That's not what it's about. It's about understanding your underlying issues. Is it a lack of self-esteem that makes you push yourself and I guess you come over to other people as being arrogant? You dismiss what other people have to say because of your lack of self-esteem long before you can allow yourself to even consider the validity of what they're telling you. You say no because it came from them, because you can't fathom the idea that perhaps they're intelligent and thought of something you didn't. You talk too much out of insecurity, perhaps. You talk too much because you think too much of yourself. Or you fail to speak up. You fail to speak up when you have to because you're afraid of the way others will think of you. Now, by the way, let's take that as a specific example where you can go very deep. The Sfarim say this. When your behavior is all focused on gaining the approval of others, you've created some level of avodah zarah for yourself. You are serving another human being. You feel that in life you need this person's approval or you cannot be happy. You are making him into some kind of God over yourself. And every time you try to impress him, you are being oved avodah zarah. You are serving a false God. That's what the Sfarim say. Now, by the way, this accounts for so many different things that people do. The need for approval. The underlying attitude there is that it's not between you and Hashem. It's not enough that you know that what you're doing is right, and what counts is that Hashem will be there for you because of that. No, you need the approval of this person because Hashem isn't enough. Whatever you need this person on your side. Or even worse, your own self-image is determined by what others say about you. And that's living in a world that is totally false. These are underlying issues. These are underlying issues that are responsible for so much negative behavior. Anger, that can be coming from all kinds of places. Anger could be because the world's got to be the way I want it to be, and if I'm disappointed, The frustration is expressed in anger. That means you think you run the world. That is an attitude which is off. That's disease. Hashem runs the world. We have things that we think would be good for us, and Hashem thinks otherwise. So anger can easily come from thinking you run the world, or thinking that you're the greatest, and therefore the way people are treating you is just not sufficient. And you're angry with the world, and you're angry at them. Of course, following one's taivas, where the Yetzer Hara says this is what you want, the underlying mistake there is you believe your Yetzer Hara. The underlying mistake is you believe your Yetzer Hara when he says you want this. And what you really have to develop is the true attitude on life, which is this is not what you want. So all in all, Viduy means the recognition not just that I did things that are technically forbidden. Viduy means understanding that there's some attitude or a collection of attitudes that are off, that have to change. So in the general sense, it is first simply coming to the conclusion that I have issues to work on. And that is chatan. And then it's a matter of really making a list. What are your principal issues? And really working through them to the point of understanding the root issue. What are the root problems? And it should only be a few. It is a few attitudes that really cause us to do lots of different things that are not right. Certainly the principal things, the things that we repeat often, and the things that really do the most damage to whom we are. So that's Viduy. That's part one. That's the very first part of the Teshuva process. Locating where it is that your thinking process is off. What is the disease that you're suffering for? What is that spiritual disease that your nefesh is suffering from? Obviously, if you don't know the nature of your malady, there's no way that you can cure it. So Viduy is absolutely necessary, and is so much more profound than what we thought it was, of simply saying, oh, I have sinned. All right, so we've done the very first part of it, and that's work, and there's a lot to it. If you want it to work for you, you got to do your homework. I don't see that there's any way that we can really change, that we can really grow, if we don't understand our underlying issues. And that's what Viduy is supposed to do for us.